Welcome to the Ronni Resonance Podcast, a space for women in transition, becoming, and rebirth. I'm Ronni, an intuitive guide, mentor, and multi-dimensional human learning right alongside you. Here we explore identity shifts, intuition, alignment, purpose, and the deeper truths you've been feeling but maybe haven't said out loud yet. This is where you return to yourself, gently, honestly, and with resonance. Take a breath. You're exactly where you're meant to be.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ronni Resonance Podcast. Today, I'm going to be telling you guys the story of how I manifested my husband and almost completely ruined it because of his name, which is honestly very on brand for me. I'm spiritual, intuitive, and self-aware, and still somehow sabotaging myself, which I couldn't have picked a better day to wear my overthinking shirt because, yeah, that's definitely been something that I've struggled with in my life. So let's get into it. So after my second long-term relationship ended in my 20s, I went through this really long season of being single, like technically single, if you know what I mean, but also emotionally single, spiritually single, mentally unavailable. Just, I am good on dating men for a while, single. I wasn't heartbroken in some dramatic way. I was tired. I just didn't trust my choices anymore, my instincts. I didn't trust that I knew how to pick somebody healthy. And I think a lot of us get there at some point where you're like, I'm not desperate. I'm not lonely. I'm just done risking my peace. So I was doing an energy alignment session, which usually during my energy alignment sessions with my intuitive friend, we talk, and I talk about a bunch of different things with her. And that way she knows kind of where to direct the energy work once we actually do the energy alignment. And through that conversation, I probably talked a lot about, oh, no, I don't have anybody. How do I find a good guy? Whatever it was that I was saying to her. And what she told me was to write down everything that I do want in a partner and then rip it up and throw it out the window. And I was like, ma'am, that's littering. I don't litter, but paper comes from trees. So I said, okay, I guess. And I wrote the list. Listen, this was like probably 2014. So I was probably like 22 years old. So don't judge me for this. But when I made the list, there was a particular person that I wanted my partner to look like. I thought the best way to manifest this would probably be to imagine it, but what better way than to use somebody who's already famous, a well-known person, and compare my future person to this person as far as looks. And I think I was more so looking at looks with this. And let's get into this part. So the person was G-Eazy. Now, literally don't come for me because this was before all the shit he did to Halsey, which I'm pretty sure I stopped listening to his music anyway, it doesn't matter. But what I really wanted was this like handsome, tattoos, tall, dark, and handsome again, and maybe a little Middle Eastern looking, which don't get me wrong, I'm still not even sure how to phrase that correctly, but that was my type at the time. So, smart, funny, nerdy, down to earth, kind, successful, but humble, like hot, but emotionally intelligent, which is a big ask, let's be honest, especially if you're somebody in the dating world right now. It's a nightmare. So I wrote it all down, I ripped it up, and during one of my long commutes to work, I threw it out the window on some random backcountry road. And then I forgot about it. I never took a picture of it. I never saved it. I never told anyone exactly what I wrote. And I just fully surrendered and trusted it, which I think that is extremely important because manifestation doesn't work when you're obsessing or forcing. It works when you release it to the universe. So fast forward a couple of years, I'm still single, I'm living alone, independent girl, and just doing my thing. And my mom, bless her heart, decides she's concerned. She thinks I'm never dating again. Granted, I said that. I said that a few times. I even had this like acronym that was I think it was SBFL, which was single bitch for life. And I mean, I flaunted that everywhere. It was kind of a joke, but kind of not a joke at the same time. So I think she took that seriously, that I was never dating again. So for my birthday, she buys me, I can't even make this up, you guys, Match.com. Let me be clear. I did not ask for this. I didn't request it. She insisted on getting me this. And really, since she paid, I felt obligated. So I decided, okay, I'm on Match.com. And as I'm scrolling, I see this guy. And physically, immediately, I'm like, okay, this fits the list. The bio, when I'm reading through the bio, I'm like, okay, he seems not like a creep or a weirdo. He seemed like he was educated, funny, charming, and I'm like, okay. But then the thing that I kept getting hung up on, though, aside from the way he looked, his bio being a certain way, was his name. His name is Sage, which you would probably be like, okay, that's such a pretty name. Oh my gosh, why would you care that his name was Sage? But I don't talk about this often because it is just weird. And my husband and I have been together for 9 years now. So to me, it's not something like most of the people in my circle know this already. So we don't talk about it all the time. But my brother's name is Sage. And so I was like, nope, absolutely not. Nope, hard pass. If this would have been like Chris, John, Ben, whatever, fine. But Sage is too specific. It's too weird, just too close. And I was like, universe, literally do not play with me. I still ended up matching with him, but I think we talked for probably a day. And shortly after, I ended up getting off Match.com. And then, life happens. Your friends are busy. You're alone in your apartment because you live alone. You realize that, nobody's sending you good morning texts anymore. And, you're just kind of like, okay, maybe I'll try it again. So I I had Tinder on and off. And I know a lot of you know Tinder. Don't get me started. But by 2016, I feel like Tinder really had become more of a place that people met. It wasn't just like a hookup situation. So one day I did re-download it. And as I'm swiping on different people, guess who I see? Sage. Not my brother, my husband, my now husband. And it was just so interesting to me. Like, how weird. I mean, it's not that weird because it is a small world, truly. But being on one platform and then finding the same person on another platform, like that was just interesting to me. So, I mean, I'm seeing the same man, a different app, same face, same vibe, same name. And at this point, I'm like, okay, that's suspicious. So I swipe right. And of course, we match immediately because he had already, swiped right on me. And he ends up messaging me shortly after going, haven't we met before or haven't we matched before? Which I didn't realize he was joking. And I literally responded, yeah, on Match.com. So I don't know what I was thinking, if I just thought he really didn't know. But I'm like, how do you not remember? Anyway, his bio also said something like on his Tinder bio. Now his Tinder bio was different from his Match.com bio. Not like completely different people. I'm just saying that like Match.com was a little bit more professional, whereas like Tinder he had a little bit more fun with, I could tell. And on his Tinder profile, it said something like A's and B's get 2 degrees. And immediately I was like, oh, he's funny and smart, which is maybe dangerous. So we end up talking. And I do realize through talking to him just how easy and natural it is. He's asked me to meet up, and he had done it very kindly. Like, do you want to go grab a drink? He was just trying to keep it casual and not make it some big thing. I think a lot of people have issues with agreeing to like a dinner or whatever because it feels so like locked in. And so I think he was really trying to make it like an easy, casual thing. But of course, I did what I always did, which was avoid it. I mean, not always. There was definitely some guys I avoided, but for this particular situation, I definitely wanted to avoid it because I was like, yeah, there's just no way that I'm dating this man that has the name Sage, just like my brother. But anyway, so like I said, I would download the app, delete it, disappear, come back, repeat. So I think it was like for a month I was gone or something. So this poor man probably was like, oh, she just straight up ghosted me. But one day I ended up re-downloading Tinder, and his last message was something simply like, hey, just checking in if you still want to meet up or something along those lines. But I could tell he was like, no pressure, no attitude, no ego. But I was like, oh, this is like consistency. Like this man literally wants to see me. It like clicked in me. I was like, this person has been trying to see you for possibly months, like for how long it was, like the last month. I don't know even know how long it was, but maybe weeks. He was just like waiting, like, oh, maybe this girl will message me back and like we'll go on this date. He was like, I think what I liked about the messages is that it wasn't like, hello, oh, you ghosted me. He wasn't being a jerk. Like he had been kind of like led along and like been really wanting to go on a date, and I was just putting it off. And so he was being really kind, and it felt really patient and respectful. And so that stood out to me. What I kept saying to myself was like, oh, I'm just letting my fear run the show over a literal name. Like, get over yourself. So I ended up saying yes to the date. We ended up going on this date, which, you guys, if you know me and you know him and I and like that first date, it was like not the most like glamorous first time ever dating, or first time ever really going on a date, really. But yeah, that's a whole other story. So if you want to hear that story, comment below. But when I started actually getting to know him, like slowly, quietly, I realized that, oh, this is probably who I wrote down. He checked off the boxes: handsome, tattoos, tall, dark, kind, and he was smart and nerdy. And he'd probably hate that I called him nerdy, but it's true. He was successful but humble. He was funny, grounded, emotionally steady, not flashy, not dramatic, not chaotic. He was just like peaceful, consistent, and safe. And I think to me, I wasn't used to that. I was expecting something to be wrong with this person, and that I was going to have to fix this person potentially, because that was like every other relationship or guy that I talked to. They always came with some sort of baggage. But what I realized with him, and I started to recognize, was that just because, he didn't come wrapped in chaos like I was used to, he was wrapped in this stability. And this is the part I think that it still gives me chills. I have chills now thinking about it. But I really do think the name was a sign. I think that my spirit guides knew if he just looked like my type, I might still overlook him or think that I wasn't good enough for him or somebody like him. So they were like, nope, you're going to see this man twice on 2 different platforms and the same unique name, so that you literally can't miss it. It was almost like this like spiritual highlighter to be like, pay attention, bitch. And that's when I realized something. I didn't just manifest him. I ended up having to, or really became the version of myself who could receive a person like him. I ended up healing. I learned boundaries. It allowed me to stop chasing emotionally unavailable men. I learned to trust myself. I learned to be alone and learn to protect my peace. And this was all kind of intertwined in the early days of him and I dating, of the realizations I was having. And, there was a while that I was like fighting it because I still didn't understand that he was also a mirror for me, as much as I was a mirror for the men that I've dated in my life, and how, they've put me through things and I've had to fix things or whatever it is. I just realized that there were things that I didn't know how to act in a more normal and stable relationship. So I think that I had done work a little bit before of being alone. So that way it did help me, when he showed up, that I was ready. But even through the beginning stages of that relationship, I also wanted to pull out because I was like, okay, that sounded really bad. Oh my God. I also wanted to like exit the relationship at times because I think I was almost creating this chaos that wasn't there because I was used to having it. And I felt like, oh, this relationship is maybe boring or whatever because I don't have this drama. So that also was something I think that he was sent in a way to be like, no, you have to learn what you deserve sometimes. And it has to reflect back to you like, no, this person's not doing anything wrong. They are simply being kind to you and genuinely want to see you, genuinely want to spend time with you, treat you with respect, all the things. So I think the point is that manifestation it's not about forcing. It's about alignment. It's about becoming. It's about recognizing what's already being sent to you and being brave enough to say yes, even when it doesn't look like the fantasy that you envisioned, or show up exactly when you asked for it or how you asked for it, even when it scares you, even when your old patterns want to say no. So, this is the story of how I manifested Sage. But what I didn't share here is what honestly matters even more is everything I had to unlearn before I could even recognize him as healthy, which is what I just talked about. The patterns I had to break, the beliefs I had to rewrite, the ways I had been abandoning myself in all of my relationships, not even just like romantic, but in general. And I'm going to be talking about all of that in the extended episode inside the Becoming Sanctuary, because that part is really where the transformation happened for me. And if you've ever felt like you keep attracting the same type of person over and over, then this episode is for you. The link to the Becoming Sanctuary is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.